Tampa Bay Buccaneer fans, welcome to the post-game show. It's a day for celebration. How's this sound? How sweet is this? The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are the 2021 NFC South Division champs. Joining me is Ray Kennedy. Literally, Rick Hughes, my co-host, is stuck in traffic outside Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte. Ray is gracious enough to join us of Cup of Ray fame. Ray, give us some perspective on this historic day for the Bucs.
You know, most importantly, Tom Brady ties Vinny Testaverde for the most touchdowns at 77. No, Dave, I'm kidding. This was exactly the way the Bucs were supposed to win the NFC South. Of course, the Saints could have lost. The Bucs could have lost. We could have backed in. They weren't able to take care of it last week against the Saints there at Tampa Raymond James Stadium. But this game today, they locked it down. Offense, defense, special teams, just loved it. This is the way you're supposed to win your division.
I couldn't say it better. It was fantastic. From the moment they were ready to play, they came out. They didn't score touchdowns. They settled for some field goals. It's about the only criticism I could say, and they put it to them. They never let the Panther offense come up for air. It was a day to behold.
Especially after last week's performance. The Saints went into Raymond James, slapped them around. We got some injuries. We got to get those cats healthy and get back. But, you know, take it off. Hats off to Keyshawn Vaughn. You know, the kid would get out of Vanderbilt, the leading SEC rusher that year. People were talking about that big drop or that catch he could have had last week. And then also Grayson Jr. comes up with the huge catch. Just Tom Brady continuing to lean on his assets as he continues to push his team, to will his team toward another postseason and possibly a second consecutive Super Bowl championship.
I did not think that we'd be sitting here with 2 games left to go in the season, and the longest rush of the year would be 55 yards with Keyshawn Vaughn, and the longest reception would be 62 yards with Cyril Grayson. I'll take it, and the Bucs are division champs.
And it's the exact opposite end of the fact that we've got Leonard Fournette goes down. Of course, we lose Chris Godwin for the year with the torn ACL. We've got Levante David out until at least the postseason. But then you come in, like you said, with a Keyshawn Vaughn and a Cyril Grayson. And it's just that's the exact thing Buccaneers fans needed today to show that not only that this organization and this entire team is dedicated to the proposition of getting back to that dance and making a run for that Super Bowl championship, but also that you've got other contributors that can say it's next man up mentality. And today the Buccaneers proved that next up mentality is exactly what you need to work.
Well, I couldn't believe that Rob Gronkowski didn't even get a target until 5 minutes into the third quarter, and AB's putting up numbers. They did it without basically Gronk for the first 2+ quarters. It was just up and down, a phenomenal effort. Brady had all day to throw. He even had his signature one run of the game for 10 plus yards for a first down. He toned it down to his credit because he don't want to be more of a target than what you already are. But it's hard to have any complaints about this game. Up and down the line, offense, defense. Ronald Jones, there was a Ronald Jones sighting. Keyshawn Vaughn. Up and down, the Bucs stepped up. They looked like a team that really wanted to win their division this week and to get it taken care of. And now they're division champs, and it's just a question of where their seeding's going to be. But I think that the first seed is out of reach. You're going to have the Packers lose 2 games and the Bucs win out, which I doubt will happen. But roll the dice and see what happens. The Bucs are in the playoffs, and they'll be defending their championship.
And you know, Dave, before I go on, I got to throw a shout out to the fine staff. I've got Tabitha and Amanda, the managers, out here at Irish 31. I did the pregame show earlier. I had my meal. They knew that my kids were home, you know, a little tired. It was a long week, and they've got a little sniffle. And they sent home a couple of 20 orders. Is asking me is how are the wings, and the kids loved them, but I just wanted to throw a special shout out to them. Can you still hear me, Dave?
Yeah, I can hear you. You cut out for a few seconds. We're all good. So
right, but I was just going to say that this is exactly the kind of win you needed after the wind was taken out of the sails last week. You talk about Green Bay's probably going to have that, you know, home field throughout. But if you get the Green Bay Packers that almost, you know, they win 24-22, but that's after 4 Baker Mayfield interceptions last night. That Green Bay team may not make it past the divisional round, and maybe the NFC Championship game does end up being right here in Raymond James. So we'll see where those chips fall.
Yeah, the Packers, they have two teams that were severely depleted. They've gone down to the wire, which doesn't exactly make you think they're a juggernaut, and they're certainly beatable. So hopefully they'll go down, and but we will be there, and we will be defending, and we will be representing. So a fantastic day for the Bucs.
And the Buccaneers today, for the ninth time this season, they scored 30 or more points for the ninth time, and that's the first time in team history, even after last year's offensive output as we win the Lombardi in 55. But, it's just something to hang here. I'm not going to get super excited like I did when I filled in for you, Dave, a couple of weeks back, and we won that overtime thriller, the thriller in Manila, when Brashard Perryman catches that big pass. I got a little crazy. I'm not saying that we won anything today. Actually, we did, though, didn't we? We got that banner that they'll be hanging next year in Raymond James Stadium that says 2021 NFC South Champs.
It's been far too long, and what a fantastic day. What surprised you about today?
Basically that they committed to the running game early, and I thought that's exactly what they should do. They I still don't like. I don't know why they run the delay traps across the middle. I think it must be some make the defensive line play you honest. But the fact that they get the running, they flip the ball outside, and again, when the moment that Keyshawn Vaughn has that huge run, that's when I knew things were going to go our way. But probably the biggest surprise was they effectively used the run, and then that in turn set up the play action pass, which made things a lot easier.
And Brady, he was under fire all day in the Saints game, but today he had plenty of time to make himself a sandwich, go through his progressions, pick up receivers. It was a work of art. So
Truly
great
was.
day.
Truly was. And coaching staff, they even down to the very end when you bring Tom out and you let Blaine go in and get a few snaps, they go to the sideline. You see Byron Leftwich giving Tom a congratulatory little daddy you do. Maybe Tom was probably saying the same thing back to him with great calls today, coach. But that's the kind of no Lombardi was won today. They didn't give out the NFC Championship today. We did get that banner now, little state that we were to first time in 15 years, and 15 years, 2007 up through now. It's been a while coming, but the Buccaneers, even last year in winning 55, we snuck in, we wild carded it, we were road warriors, but this year we changed it up a little bit. We locked down the South, and now we've got 2 more games still ahead of us in this regular season.
We saw Blaine Gabbert at the end. How would you think they should play the last 2 games?
Oh, Dave, you're putting me on the spot. Let Tom go. Of course, we got to continue to see how things shake out because there's still so much in flux in the NFC. It's not even so much as to whether the Bucs can't finish top seed, but they can finish second seed and then possibly or third seed. So really, I don't think that the Bucs will ever admit that there's a team. NFL teams don't do that. We don't want to see Washington on the road in the playoffs, or we don't want to. Here's the good news. No matter how the chips fall, especially with those Rams, because I've said this since the Rams beat us earlier this season at SoFi, they played an inspired game they had to win. But if the Rams come here to Raymond James, you won't have a letdown like you did last week against the Saints. They don't have quite the same makeup as the Saints, a divisional foe that slapped us in the mouth. If the Rams have to come through here or any other team the Buccaneers face in that first weekend, we'll be ready for them.
If it ended today, it would be the Cardinals, I believe, coming down to Raymond James. So
Yes.
The Cardinals are in serious trouble. They've lost 3 in a row and haven't won since DeAndre Hopkins went out. So they can play, but I don't see them as a threat per se. I mean, at any given Sunday, sure, but the Cardinals, I think, are in real trouble.
Yeah, I mean, you got the Cardinals up in there. You have the Rams. The 49ers are making a splash. The Packers have already locked it down. The Vikings are hanging around. Of course, the Dallas Cowboys won the NFC East. But, fortunately, we're not too worried about like a Giants or Washington football team sneaking up in there. Washington, I say, because they're dangerous from the standpoint of Montez Sweat. And, if they're on that day, even though, of course, they're without some players with injuries and such this year, but, they could be a dangerous team because Riverboat Ron Rivera is going to come up with a game plan. He seems to have done it, almost last year in a wild card, but then definitely earlier this year when the Bucs went out there. But, the good thing about the Bucs winning this game today and locking down the South is, even though there's still a lot of chips in play and who knows where they're going to fall yet, we're continuing to we're mastering our own domain, if you will. We won the South. We win the ones they put in front of us. You win the ones you're supposed to, and we'll just see who's going to be the poor souls that have to come into Raymond James and face this Buccaneers team in the postseason.
Right. The destiny's in our hands, And we know where the floor is. We're at least the 4th seed. And if we can improve on that, all the better. But we certainly have a home game coming to Raymond James for sure.
Yes,
So,
sir.
great game.
Yes, great stuff.
Any other surprises you had today?
Just the fact that the guy filling in, I'm sorry, I don't know his name right now. The guy filling in for Bradley Pinion still did a fantastic job. Had a couple of big punts. I liked what I saw in Varner in the return game today. He scared me a little bit, like he's going to pull it down and going to try to go with it, but felt like again that he could have ran one back at any time. But at the same time, but like earlier, you saw that punt, Dave, where he didn't do a fair catch, but he waved his hands down like he wasn't going to let it go, and then he still ended up fielding it. And you even heard the gasps there in TIA Stadium of the Panthers fans that realized more oftentimes than not, when you see that type of play, sometimes you see a muff punt, and a turnover there would have been crucial at that point in the game.
Yeah, it would have.
How about you, Dave? What did you see that surprised you?
It surprised me that Rob Gronkowski didn't get a target until well into the third quarter. That completely surprised me because I would have figured that he would have been the bread and butter. And it was interesting on the sidelines where Brady, who I think was mouthing to, you could read his lips and talking to left, which is like, what's he doing? Gronk didn't look himself last game at all, and he still didn't look sharp today. I mean, there was more than enough to cover for him. I thought Antonio Brown didn't show any rust. I figured it would take him some time to get back into it, but fortunately for the Bucs, he just took off. It looked like he did when he left in Week 6. I mean, he came right back in, and it was a huge shot in the arm for the Bucs offense as far as I was concerned.
Yes, so, I tell you what, there's a few other teams now, any teams the Bucs will face in the playoffs, or even the Jets and the Panthers again in 2 weeks, that are looking at that AB that showed up today, and they're like, oh, come on, are you kidding me? And I'll tell you what, though, I think the reason why you saw Rob get shut down today was basically the Panthers defense were basically thinking all week, all right, the Godwin's out, Fournette's not there, Tom's lost most of his crutches, so let's go ahead and take his soulmate, Rob Gronkowski, out. And Tom Brady basically said, all right, well, we'll run the ball with Keyshawn Vaughn to the left, or we'll hit Cyril Grayson down the sideline. Beautiful pass. I thought that was Perriman at first, and then I realized it was Grayson, and I'm like, that's the small type of even if for the players themselves, as you get towards the postseason, that's the kind of stuff that instills confidence in a team. And you know as well as I do, Dave, that almost 50% of this thing is confidence. If you're confident you're going to have success, you're already halfway there.
Well, and then they've had so many injuries, and next man up sounds like a good, nice catchphrase. But typically that guy coming up is not as good as the guy who just went down. So you can only do that so much. But the Bucs stepped up today. It was quite amazing, I thought. I have to say, I got to take some things back I said about Keyshawn Vaughn, because I basically put a tombstone on his NFL career a few weeks ago. And he showed up. I'll give him credit. He was prepared. He's a good run blocker, but today he ran the ball. He looked like the guy I was excited about when they drafted him out of Vanderbilt. So that was my surprise. Gronk didn't get a catch even a target in his catch until the third quarter, and Keyshawn Vaughn showed up and looked like an NFL player, and a pretty good one.
Well, I tell you what, if you go back, and I hope everyone out there watching this postgame show, first of all, welcome to the Bucs Report postgame show. It's Dave Whitescarver's and Rick Hughes' show. I'm just a monkey in this circus, or a clown in this circus, but go back and look at my cup of Ray from this morning, and I actually said, I said Rojo would have a $150 and 3 touchdowns maybe, or 2 touchdowns, but as it turns out, Keyshawn Vaughn has 60 yards and a touchdown, and then you had Rojo with another 50 yards and a touchdown. So combined, the effort together was pretty solid, because probably not what most teams expect going up against the Buccaneers. They expect it to be pass first, but today they found out that it can be run first as well.
Yeah, that surprised me as well. It's like I figured they'd get the ball to AB and they'd start to open up the run with the pass, stretching the field. But they just started pounding the ball, and they did a good job of it. And kudos to Keyshawn Vaughn, the offensive line, and Keyshawn Vaughn and Rojo. They had a great day as far as the rushing goes. Let's see what the final stats were. You had 159 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns, and then the long run by Keyshawn Vaughn was 55 of it. So it was just, they did what they needed to do, and they stuck with what they needed to do, and they took care of business, and it wasn't really ever in doubt. I was questioning at times when they were settling for field goals, but the offense came through, and they did, and they were phenomenal. like you said, you don't want to come to Raymond James Stadium for the playoffs coming up. You want a different matchup. But the Bucs did what they needed to do, and you had Cameron Brate with 2 receptions, Grayson with 3, Antonio Brown with 10. What didn't they do? I mean, they did it all well. They made plays on third down. They
Yes.
stretched the field. It looked like Carolina was chasing them throughout the game. No matter what they did, they were ahead of what Carolina was trying to do defensively.
And basically, they did exactly like what not even as Buccaneer fans, what we expect to see from our Buccaneers or the Buccaneers, but they basically did what a championship team does. They go out, they win all fast. And in fact, I don't remember. I know there was a little bit of laundry on the field. I'm trying to remember. And by the way, can we just say this once and for all? This whole unabated to the quarterback call on extra points or field goals, if the kick is already made, if it's an offsides call, I know unabated to the quarterback means the quarterback's going to get killed, but Suckup makes that extra point. And yes, they moved him from the 2-yard line to the 1-yard line, so the Bucs make the analytic call to send in the offense to go for 2. We don't get any points on that drive. Not a big deal. I wasn't worried about it, but if the kick leaves the foot of the kicker, whether it's unabated or not, just assess the 5 yards on the kickoff. I don't know why you ever we always learned this, Dave, growing up. Remember, we always heard from the old school coaches, you don't take points off the board.
Mm-hmm.
But they already did because the officials made the decision for us by saying it was unabated and not giving us the option to just offsides and insist on a field goal. So that's just one of those things that, of all the NFL rules, I know it's a silly one. It doesn't come into play a lot. I've seen it 2 or 3 times this year. I don't know. It's silly.
Well, as far on the penalty front, the Bucs had 6 for 50 and the Panthers 6 for 32. And I don't recall anything happening at a crucial time or something that would flip the momentum of the game. So I thought it was a pretty clean game. I mean, you can always clean it up more, but I thought they did a good job as far. And here, I would like to get your perspective on this because I read an article in The Athletic about the 4th and down and this whole analytics thing, or for lack of a better term. How do you feel about that? With the 4th downs, I've seen games lost and comebacks halted because people weren't taking field goals and taking the points. But what should be the balance between analytics and then the human side of it, going with your gut?
Well, I call it the old school in me, but just like Bill Parcells would have done, or Dan Reeves would have done back in the day, just like a John McKay would have done because he had no choice because our offense sucked. But I believe you punt them down and in, unless the game is that close on the line in the 4th quarter and, you need to score points. You don't have that alternative. Because I think if you trust your defense, like the Buccaneers trust their defense, I would much rather punt the ball in, try to pin them inside their 10 and play the field position game than to just go for it on 4th. And I see other teams that fail, like John Harbaugh says a couple of weeks ago, well, I had no safeties left, so I figured I couldn't go to overtime. Yeah, John, but if you make the extra point and you win the toss, maybe you don't have to worry about your defense because you put 6 on the board. I know the odds might be in the favor, but it also comes down to momentum and what you're telling your team. And when you're telling your team, I don't trust you guys to win in overtime, then maybe you end up, hey, those who fail to prepare to fail. Yeah, that's right.
I'm seeing these 4th and 4s and 4th and 5s and 6th and 7s, and they're sitting here. They don't have a high probability of success with the plays they're calling. They're chucking the ball down the field, and I'm like, how are you expecting to get a first down on 4th and 7 and 4th and 8 or that type of thing? To me, I just don't understand that.
Nope. I've seen coaches get burned on it time and time again, and I know when you said go for it on 4th down, and I used the John Harbaugh reference of going for 2 and everything, but it burned them twice in a 3-week period.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, analytics, we know this with Moneyball. We know this with the way the Rays organization is ran. The reason why $65 million can continue to rock the AL East, which other teams have $300 million payrolls, is because they use straight up analytics. You get on base, based on balls, base advancements, defense, My problem is like you said, Dave, it's a great question because now you're talking about the old school thing, which was, all right, we didn't succeed. We're gonna 3 and out. We're gonna put them down in their end, and eventually the good's gonna rise to the top. You know, even with these teams that aren't good, if you're holding your own if the Jaguars are holding their own against the Chiefs, then punt him down and make Mahomes go 90 yards. And if he does, more power to him. They were going to do it anyway. But by going for it on fourth and not succeeding, you just gave them all the momentum in the world.
Yeah, I'm seeing they're going for it on 4th and 4 from their own 35. I'm like, what are you people doing? I mean, it just makes no sense. Makes
Not
no
at all.
sense to me. There he
Hello,
is.
champions.
You
That's
make it
the
through
man.
traffic?
Hello, how you guys doing? Yes,
Oh.
made it through traffic.
We were having a little celebration here.
Woohoo! It's good to be a champion, isn't it, fellas?
2007 NFC South champions. Rick, got to get that. I got to buy the merch. Got to
How
get the merch.
sweet is that? How sweet is that, guys? So I am proud to be a Buccaneers fan. The team stepped up. They faced adversity. They stepped up. Everything about today, you got to look at and go, hey, that's my team. I'm proud of that team. So they put behind what happened last week. That was then. This is now. You know, when your wide receiver 2 and 3 were working at Wawa and Subway last week, you know, I mean, it's Dave, you pointed out something great. I heard you say, I was listening to the show. I was stuck in traffic. I was listening to the show. And Dave, you said the longest reception of the year is 62 yards by Cyril Grayson. The longest rush of the year is 55 yards.
And that both happened today. Who would have ever thought that? Was that even on the board at Vegas?
Yeah, that's an amazing stat. It really is an amazing statistic. I mean, wow.
Hey, can we just? Oh, I'm sorry. Can I just? I'm sorry, Dave.
No, go ahead.
Can I just, beat the 800-pound gorilla in the room? Of course, Rick Hughes, your co-host here on the post-game show, spends half his time, a lot of his time between here and mostly in Carolina there. How ironic that one of the co-hosts of the best post-game show here on Bucs Report got stuck in traffic in Charlotte after the Bucs beat the Panthers on his way back to get to the studio to go live with us on the post-game show. That's irony.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd have thought that it cleared out.
From a Bucs game in Charlotte.
That's awesome.
Go figure. I'm looking at the stadium the whole time, just like, hi, boys.
Well, I mean, they did
it.
Jason Pierre-Paul was out, Levante David, Antoine Winfield, and Shaq Barrett went out in the third quarter, midway through and never returned. And they put on a defensive performance. I realized the Panthers, they were trying that two-headed monster with Newton and with Sam Darnold. But, I mean, they were lights out, and they were missing key people, and they still played lights-out defense. And they did that against the Saints as well.
Yeah, I think they didn't even they just – this is a team, they stepped up when they had to step up. For all of what we've talked about all year, listen, last year was fairly, I'm going to use the word adversity-free. I mean, we lost Vita Vea for a little while, but last year, everything went right for the team. I mean, it was crazy how much went right for the team. This year, things aren't going right. I mean, there's so many injuries. There are things that are going bad, things that are going poorly. And this team is still, they stepped up. They won the division with 2 games still to go. And Bruce Arians in his post-game press conference said that Cyril Grayson earned what he did today, that he is the most improved player on the Buccaneer team. And that since he's been there, since Arians has been there, Cyril Grayson's the most improved player, that he earned what he did. And I mean, he also, by the way, Arians said when it comes to the next 2 games, he said, we'll see about sitting people in the last game. But he said, I feel like if you sit people, they lose something. If you sit your players, you lose a little something. So, I imagine that they'll even come back a little bit and play a little bit. He said that right now, though, he said if seeding doesn't matter, he'll consider sitting players. If seeding doesn't matter, if there's not, a difference. Now, I'll tell you right now, I believe the Bucs are the number 4 seed and Arizona is the number 5 seed. That means the Bucs would play Arizona in the first week of the playoffs. I'm okay with that. I'm good with that.
We were discussing that earlier. I mean, I think the Cardinals, without DeAndre Hopkins, they haven't won a game since he
they're
went
done.
down.
Yeah, they're done.
And I don't see them being a true threat. Can they come in and win? Yes, they can. The odds are stacked against them. And
Well-
I mean, I think the air's come out of the Cardinal balloon, and I don't expect them to play at an elite level the rest of the season.
Yeah. Well, Dave, you know, having known me since first grade, who's my second favorite team?
Cardinals and the Vikings.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that's
I'm sorry.
that's my next tier down. And the thing, yeah, boy, if I had a miserable football life.
Well, I'll
But
tell you what, the Cards have the Ravens on their dance card next. They play the Ravens, I believe, this next week.
Ravens are crumbling.
Well,
the injuries. They're decimated.
They got destroyed today by Cincinnati. Burrow threw for 526 yards or something like that.
Oh, he's on my fantasy team. I'm in the playoffs. Yay.
Well, yeah, you had a good day today then, because I mean 526 yards I think he threw for. So I mean he had a huge game.
I mean, the Ravens have been doing it with smoke and mirrors. They really are decimated. If you think the Bucs had it bad on defense, look at the Ravens. They're just I've been impressed that they've been staying in games, but offensively, I can't remember the last time they scored 20 points. I mean,
I don't. Are they really more injured than the Bucs? I mean, think about who was out today.
I mean, they lost both their running backs before the season even started, and it's not gotten much better for them. And they're practically driving people off the street to play in defense.
That's what the Bucs were. I mean, think about it. JPP's out. Levante David is out. Both of the safeties, I believe, were out. Winfield and I just went blank. Who's the other safety?
I don't know, but Dave, can I tell you, Jordan Whitehead, who, by the way,
awesome today.
He's also one of those 2022 unrestricted free agents. So you talk about, I mean, let's enjoy this journey week by week. But you start talking about, Whitehead. I saw a great article. I think Dave was talking earlier about on The Athletic, which I believe we all read The Athletic. Greg Allman of The Athletic locking it down with his Buccaneers coverage, but the rest of The Athletic. And they talked about a lot of those free agents and the Buccaneers secondary. I think it's Sean Murphy-Bunting possibly and a Jordan Whitehead. So, the Bucs have a lot of decisions to make for next season, but Jordan Whitehead made a case today to make sure his agent's going to be getting a few extra phone calls from Jason Light.
It's kind of a double-edged sword. Good for him, but it's going to be harder for the Bucs. I mean, you want him to play well, but not that well.
Yeah, I mean, Jordan White, look, I think he's very underrated. I really do. But this is how it goes, guys. I've been saying this on the shows. Dave, I've been saying this, that we're going to lose people that we want to keep. And that's just get ready for it, guys, because that's how it works when you're this good. And
Jason Light, he's going to earn his money this offseason.
Yeah, you start losing people. And not for nothing, let me say this. If you stay the same year after year, you're not getting better. So staying the same is not necessarily the best possible scenario. We all think of it as being the best. You got to get better. So, I mean, let's. I think we can all feel pretty confident in saying, I trust Jason Light. I trust Bruce Arians and company.
Well, I'll tell you what, Rick, on the Cup of Ray, again, before you jumped in here, I was telling everyone, after you enjoy this post-game show with Dave and Rick, go back and check out Cup of Ray from this morning, and you guys will see, I know you did, Rick, because you were in there, but I
watched the show.
Oh, thank you, brother. And I basically said the reason why Keyshawn Vaughn hasn't maybe had that success is because, it's his body of work. I mean, the guy's playing behind Leonard Fournette, playing behind Rojo. They signed Giovanni Bernard. So, Keyshawn, fill your spot, play your position. This is a small sample size. I'm not saying this guy's going to be up for Offensive Player of the Year in 2022, but being that Fournette's again on a 1 year and Rojo's on his last year of his rookie contract. Now you're looking at a Keyshawn Vaughn and catching the ball too today. And you're looking at this kid and you're going, maybe Jason Light and the Bucs do have a plan at running back moving forward. Hopefully it includes either Rojo or Fournette. But all of a sudden now we're looking at this Keyshawn Vaughn, who, by the way, was a 4x100 relay, almost an Olympic level track star. And we're going, hey, this kid out of Vanderbilt, he's not crack cookies.
No, Johnny and I have been talking about him going back, but last week, and I'll admit it, guys, I'll eat it. I was wrong. Last week, I was ready to finally say, you know what? Forget the Keyshawn Vaughn experiment. I was admitting being wrong last week, and turns out I was wrong by admitting I was wrong.
I admitted it. I had his tombstone on his NFL career. I said, this guy's done.
Yeah, I did too. I was with you on that.
To his credit. I'll give credit where credit's due. He played well today. I did want to go back. The Ravens have 6 defensive players on IR and 9 guys who are out and 1 that is questionable.
Is there a way to check that on the Bucs?
Well, and I'll go to your point, though, Dave. You're talking about the fact that the Ravens, I mean, the most snake-bit team in the preseason, because Lamar Jackson's play was going to be always predicated upon his running, to have a running game with him. Kind of like Tom Brady's game was today with the play action and the established running game. But they lose both their running backs in the preseason. And right there, the writing was on the wall for the 2021 Ravens. And they've still managed to keep themselves at least in conversation.
By the way, guys, I turned on the phones. You can reach us at 770-633-0001.
Okay, the Bucs have 3 defensive players on IR and 4 that are out and 1 questionable, which is out now, Shaquille Barrett.
Yeah, I gotta wait till we hear the news on Shaq Barrett. Hopefully, that's just one of those things where we're trending toward a win here in Carolina. Let's get you in the locker room and iced up or something.
I believe it was Joshua Cole Allen in the post-game press conference asked about him,
right?
And Arians said that it seemed like he was going to be okay.
Precautionary.
Who do we have? We got a caller. What's your name and where are you calling from? What?
It's Ray's wife. Where is he?
Not working. I don't know why I'm not getting it.
We haven't seen him all day.
Well, he's been over at the Irish 31 enjoying some of this.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on or why we're not getting the call in. I don't know what the deal is.
Here we go. They probably hung up.
I'm not sure if it's coming through, though. Hello? Caller, can you hear us? No, we are not. I am not getting the call. I don't know why. You guys keep talking and I'll work on the check.
All right, Rick. Oh, Dave. Rick told me to keep talking. I don't know if I can do that. So anyway,
it's a challenge.
it's you know me. I'm a man of very little words. But going back to the game today, it just seemed like, again, this was after that debacle against the Saints. Like, I know I'm kind of going over scorched earth a little bit here, but I needed to not only see the players playing good, I needed to not only, and Tom had pedestrian numbers, by the way, by Tom Brady standards today. Today's performance wasn't the kind that's going to keep him in consideration for the MVP.
No,
but
that train's left the station.
Yeah, he'd have to have. I mean, against these last 2 weeks, again, when we're talking about possibly sitting some of this team and resting us for the playoffs, because really at the end of the day, the NFL MVP, that's a nice thing to hang on your wall. But really, Tom always says, what's his favorite Super Bowl ring?
The next one.
The next one. So I think that Tom by himself would probably admit. But here's the thing I'm worried about, Dave. Do you still have your stats pulled up?
Yeah.
While I'm talking to you, can you tell me what was Mike Evans at in yardage on the year? Because I know he's got that hamstring, and with Mike Evans, that's kind of been a thing. But, we were trying to get that 8th 1,000-yard season in, and I looked the stats up, and I didn't think he was that far away, but that was before he goes down.
A little over 100 yards to go.
Oh, okay. Then Rick comes back in, locks it up with the answer. So, okay, we're okay. We still got 2 games to lock that down.
All right. I am not sure.
I think back to early in the season before AB went down, you had 3 guys that were on pace to do 1,000 yards. And
unbelievable.
Now Godwin's out for the. I mean, that was the gut punch to me because all these other injuries, none of them are going to come at a good time. But they were coming back. Now Godwin's the first one that's not, and he's your top receiver, and that is a bit of a gut punch, and that just lowered your odds of being able to repeat. It doesn't make them go away, but it makes it more difficult.
Yeah, try something here. I'm calling someone who had tried to reach on us, and I hung up on him. Hold on just a moment.
Thank you for calling MasterCard Services.
Oh, hey, sorry about that. This is Rick, Dave, and Ray on the post game show. How you doing?
I'm doing fine, guys. Man, it sure enough feels good to be back in the win column. But I got to tell you, man, this defense is starting to come into form, starting to get into that. That, hey, we're the most athletic guys here in the 11, and we're going to challenge you on every play. And if they continue in this mode of just getting into that playoff form. We're going to be okay on the defensive side of the ball.
Well, now, what's your name and where you calling from?
This is James from Chicago.
All right, James.
Wow, Chicago. I got
Yeah,
family in
very
Des
nice.
Plaines.
Well, you know what? I've been following Tom Brady for 20 years. So, I mean, what can I say?
Yeah, you
Good
called
call.
last week, I think, if I remember right.
I sure did.
Yep.
He's okay.
Yeah, that Brady guy's all right. So like you said, the defense is starting to come into form, isn't it? The thing is this: they're back, and that's where it came down to. Is the guys are coming back now. You have your secondary. This is what Arians referred to in his post-game press conference. He said, with the secondary, with those guys being back there, it's easier for the defense to do a lot more. So,
Well, it's no question. I mean, they got some ball hawk kind of guys. That Bunting guy is starting to show us why he was special last year.
Yeah.
And it just seems like when they're throwing that ball into his side of coverage, it's like it's the ball is coming and it's him versus the receiver on who's gonna make a play on that ball, and that's what they need back there.
yeah.
And you
You know
still
what
had no JPP, no Levante
Yep.
David, and no Antoine Winfield. And Barrick went out in the second half, and they still played that well.
They
That's-
look like
that's
they
phenomenal.
look like hungry dogs, and that's what
Yeah,
it is. That's
they
what
did.
Jordan Whitehead coming up and setting the tone early, almost like what the Saints did against the Bucs last week. But they look like hungry dogs, and I think that's what the caller's alluding to. The fact that the Buccaneers defense in 2020 were a bunch of hungry dogs, and we didn't even see Ndamukong today. We didn't see much on the stat sheet, but they were hungry dogs, and they keep getting into form like this, and no one's going to want to face them.
Ray, you brought up something very good and something that I think is interesting. They're like hungry dogs, and like New Orleans was last week. But my question is this: the offense played hungrier today.
Yes.
Last week, and whenever the Bucs play the Saints, they don't play hungry; they play scared. It seems like they play tentative or whatever.
Rick, can I ask
The
you?
thing I like to see is I saw they wanted to get the running game together this time around, and
Yeah.
and I really want to see this offensive line. You know, they're getting these all pro accolades. They need to start dominating on the offensive line. They did a good job today, but still, the thing about Jones is he's a home run hitter. This guy can literally hit a home run every time he get that ball. He just needs a little daylight. He needs a little bit more, a few carries to get that confidence. But that's where I think is going to separate this team going into the playoffs. They got to be able to dominate on that O line.
Yeah, but to say that they're not dominating, I don't think. Look, they have fewer sacks than any other team, and they have more passing plays than any other team. I mean, that's dominating.
But the thing is, the thing that makes this Tampa Bay offense unstoppable is when they are running the ball successfully, setting up that play action.
Right.
When that line of scrimmage on the D side has to be concerned about what's coming out of that backfield, and they're having success, it just makes the play action impossible to guard.
Well, let me ask you guys
this.
this.
Surprised there was no Le'Veon Bell at all today?
No, I wasn't. I think Le'Veon. I think that they knew the Bucs know what they have with Keyshawn Vaughn, and I'm not surprised he wasn't, Rick. Although, like I said with you earlier on Cup of Ray, I wouldn't have been surprised if he did. But let me ask you three guys this, and seriously, I'm not trying to be tongue in cheek here. Was this not in a Tom Brady era, or even in a 3-year Byron Leftwich era? Was today not the most pass or the most run intense game that we've seen the Bucs committed? Today they committed to the run before the pass. Am I right?
Well, they did in the playoffs too. Yeah. Last year, it's been.
No,
they did.
Well, they got the running going in the playoffs, but I have not seen this team come out, and their job today was to establish that run before that. Now, I've seen them go to the run later in the game, but today they were establishing that run from the very first drive, or trying to.
Well, yeah,
they had 96 yards rushing in the first half.
Yeah, when you don't have Mike Evans and
Chris
Godwin, you tend to run the ball a little more.
Well, like James Canada said, of course, former Buccaneer defensive lineman, and he was on the pregame show today, Rick, and you probably saw. He said that sometimes those offensive linemen, they like to be told, hey, we're going to let you guys do road grading today. We're going to let you guys get – you saw Ryan Jensen pulling out on blocks. You saw the Capra. You saw the – and so, sometimes you got to let them offensive linemen have a little fun. I think today in Carolina, they had some fun.
How happy were you for Keyshawn Vaughn?
Ecstatic.
Yeah. I was
ecstatic.
So happy for that guy.
I know
when
you
he
were,
ran
Rick.
into the end zone, I had all kinds of warm and fuzzies for that guy. It was like, after the abuse he undoubtedly took.
Yes.
for him to step up like that. That was awesome.
Well, at the end of the first quarter, the Bucs had 72 yards rushing and only 50 yards passing, so they absolutely established the run early.
Yeah, well, 55 of those yards were on one run from Keyshawn Vaughn.
Yeah, no, but the thing is that the rest, and the thing is, then Tom Brady actually started trying. They go to the fake play action pass where Tom, the running back goes out left, but Tom does a fake right, which doesn't even make the defense really have to play that play action, honestly. But when you establish that run early in the game, and you got to feed them the pill so they can try to get that rhythm going. But you see what happens is the defense starts to second guess themselves, and Tom starts to have his way.
Yeah, we got more callers calling in too.
Yeah, well, AB came back and really set the tone. I mean, obviously we know that Tom and AB really has a real good chemistry. He found him where he needed him to be, and I think they could have got more in that passing game, but they wanted to play a well-rounded offense.
Yeah, there was no rust for AB. He hadn't played since week 6, but he just jumped right in, and that was one of my pleasant surprises of the game. I figured he'd warm up, but he came out. He was on fire from the start.
And if they continue in this route, we're going to be okay. Whether we got to play Green Bay, whether we have to play Dallas, whether we have to play the Rams, wherever we have to go, we should be okay if they just continue to get better each game.
Yeah. I agree completely.
And I don't remember anybody saying that Dallas-Tampa Week 1 game was a preview of the NFC Championship game.
Yeah, who knew? Who knew? All right, we got another caller trying to call in. Thanks a lot for calling.
All right, buddy.
All right, Alec, go ahead and try again. Sorry about that, my friend. Sorry, Dave.
I'm still here. Are you?
Yeah. No, I'm barely here. Holy cow. Okay. That's what I get for diving back, like coming in the door, diving in behind the microphone. All right, here we go. Hey, Alec, how you doing, my friend?
Not much, Rick. How you doing, Dave?
Great to hear from you. How you doing? It's a celebration kind of day.
Better than last week.
Yeah.
I don't even remember last week. What was it?
A gut punch.
Yeah, what happened last week? I don't remember.
I don't want to remember.
The film got burned on that one. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Well, so how you feeling, Alec? Tell me what are your thoughts right now?
Feels good to be NFC South champs. I can tell you that.
Yeah, doesn't it? Doesn't it feel good?
Booking my ticket this week for my playoff ticket.
Nice. Well, you know where the first game's going to be.
Yep.
Tampa Bay.
Guaranteed. That's guaranteed. We know there will be a home playoff game this year. So that's
things don't change. You host the Arizona Cardinals.
No, I forgot, Alec. Where do you live?
Virginia.
That's right.
One state over.
Yep, one state from me. Yeah, I was laughing as I was stuck in traffic. For those who don't know, I was not at the game, but I was stuck in traffic from the game, trying to get back to do the show. And it was a mess. I'm sure there were a lot of unhappy Panthers fans in the cars around me, and I probably looked hilarious, just smiling, driving down the road.
That's the one thing I was trying to avoid. I was like, with everything that was going on this week, I was like, I don't think I can be able to go out there.
Yeah.
And then life started throwing wrenches in my plan. I was like, you know what? I'll just go to Carolina next year.
There you go. But I mean, now who is your both of you guys? Let me ask both of you. And if Ray comes back, I'll ask Ray. By the way, I have our wrong names here. Hold on. There we go. Let's get a switch. There we are. Who are your players of the game? Who did you guys think should be player of the game?
That is a tough decision. I want to say AB.
Dave?
Yeah, I'd go AB. 10 receptions, 101 yards. Probably if I had to say who the player of the game was, I'd give it to Byron Leftwich. But
I understand. Coaching, yeah, I get it.
That was the most balanced. I mean, the way they attacked the Panthers offensively, I thought it was brilliant. They did a great job. On the defensive side, William Golston, he had 2.5 sacks, so I'd give him the defensive player of the game.
Jordan Whitehead was just a beast to me. I mean, that cat was everywhere he needed to be. It was, I don't know. It's hard not to give him the
Oh, even the tip pass. I mean, not
Yeah.
only with the tackles and the way he hit, but with the tip pass and the mayhem he was causing. Yeah, solid.
Yeah.
All I gotta say is to Ray, I'll see you out there in January.
Wait, is this
This is Alex Schomburg.
Alex Schomburg? Yes,
Yep.
Alec, I'm sorry. Yeah, brother. We'll see you out there in January, man. Good to hear from you.
I'll be out there for a cup of Ray.
Awesome.
There you go. It'll be a couple of Ray and
Excellent.
Alec.
There you
Can't
go.
beat a cup of Ray.
I should have my Cup of Ray shirt on, but I had to dive in front of the camera.
And isn't it a tank top?
Oh, wait.
Thank you.
No, it's not a tank top. You do not want to see me in a tank top.
You don't want to see me in a tank top at this point. Sorry,
I
Alec.
have a question for you guys.
Yeah.
Who would be, like, come playoff time, who do you think will step up more on offense besides, the usual players?
Oh, who do I think is the outlier that'll step up? Well, you got to start.
Yeah.
Well, after today, you got to look at Cyril Grayson.
Who'd have thought that?
Start to wonder.
He's a track
I mean,
star too. Just a
yeah.
phenomenal speed.
Yeah. That's a cat. If you guys remember last year, remember the guy with the helmet? He tried to, the ball went off his helmet. If you remember that from last year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there was a game where the guy was wide open and the ball literally hit his helmet and he didn't catch it. That was Cyril Grayson.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. So when Arian says most improved, well, he's got the.
There wasn't a huge gulf to cross there for that one.
Come on, Dave.
Yeah, well, when I saw that Keyshawn Vaughn touchdown,
Yeah.
I was like, I know Dave's probably touching the air right now.
Yeah. Dave and I, both of us last week were ready to write off Keyshawn Vaughn.
Yeah.
Wasn't the best
I made
part
a
of that
mistake.
run? Well, the best part of that run too, wasn't it? That he waits to set up his blocks. Not only
That's it.
He waited behind his blocks, didn't try to just run through them.
Yeah.
He actually played it so smart. Just what you love to see in a second-year player.
Yeah, the way he followed his blockers was that's like a technique of video.
Oh wait, Rick. Speaking of blocking,
Le'Veon Bell was more of like I guess they weren't really using him offensively, but I'm pretty sure he's playing on the sideline.
Did he even get in the game?
Yeah, he had 2 carries. And they
Oh, did
okay.
he? I'm sorry,
Yeah.
my bad.
It was at the very end.
Yeah, like the very, very end when they had Blake Ever playing.
Yeah. Well,
He had, like, 2
you
runs.
realize what a nice problem to have. What a nice problem, because when Fournette comes back, you're gonna have Fournette and Le'Veon Bell and Rojo.
I don't know about Le'Veon. I mean, look how decimated the Ravens were. They picked him up. They kept Devontae Freeman, and they let him go.
They don't do much. They don't do it. It's a different kind of game, though, Dave. He plays a different kind of game. He's going to catch balls out of the backfield. He's going to take Giovanni Bernard's place.
I hope so, but we'll see.
I think Le'Veon Bell pulled a Richard Sherman offensively.
Hey guys, let me ask you
Oh,
this.
you mean sign the contract and then not ever have to earn it?
Oh,
No, not that. It was like when we signed Richard Sherman, I honestly like the first game. After that, he's more like coaching the DBs and
Yeah.
practice and like what
Hey,
not
Alec.
to do.
Alec and Dave and Rick, let me ask you this. They call Antonio Brown early on that pass interference, offensive pass interference. And let's be honest, it was there, but it was a ticky-tacky call. He may have engaged as the ball was leaving Brady's hand, but he really didn't engage early. He wasn't doing some egregious block. And that was when you saw AB really light it up over the next quarter and a half. So thank you, officials, for getting Antonio Brown started. Not like he needed any more help than he usually needs.
Yeah, that was the NFL saying, yeah, about that vaccine card.
All right.
Anymore, I don't even know what the pass interference calls are anymore. There was the one, again, the Packer game where it was critical at the end, and the guy was definitely held, and they don't
Yeah,
call
it was
thing.
it was certainly holding on that.
No.
play.
It
I'll get
definitely was. And how are they missing these calls? I really don't know. Anymore, I see a replay, and I have no idea if it's going to be pass interference.
That's the
or
same
not.
way we were for a while about catches. Whether was that a catch or was it not a catch? I mean, I know what I just saw, but I don't know if he caught it or not. And
Yeah,
was in
did he
slow
maintain
motion,
it into the third
perfect
row
angle,
or
and
not?
I still don't
you
know if he caught it. Yeah.
I'm not even sure roughing the passer is anymore because I see some plays where they gently tap them. They call it roughing
Well,
the
that
passer.
happened today. It happened today to Shaq Barrett, I think it was,
Oh, yeah.
who kind of ran by Cam, and I mean, really kind of brushed him. He sort of jumped, he didn't really hit him, and they called they called roughing the passer. I was like, what? I mean, there should have to be roughing if it's going to be roughing the passer.
Well, here's the thing, guys. We talk about chronic traumatic encephalopathy. We talk about having to protect these players. Tom Brady talks about how they shouldn't go for the knees because Chris Godwin tears an ACL, but they should go for the head. But over time, here's the thing. I might be walking into a large gray area here, but you know how we got those officials now in New York that are watching the teleprompters and they're watching all the I say it should go to intent. I say that if Shaq Barrett rolls up on someone and just because his helmet happens to coincidentally slide by Cam Newton's helmet,
right,
that's one thing. But if they see anything egregious, or better yet, if they see anything Vontez Burfict type where you actually speared someone, then you can throw them out of the game. I think that they're afraid to let New York be in that much control for replays. But I think that if you're going to walk this fine line between player protection and letting them play football, then, because we're sitting at home and not just as Bucs fans, but we see that Shaq Barrett didn't hit him helmet to. We see Shaq didn't try to hurt him. It was an incidental contact. I think that should be reviewable, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think in the long run, New York's going to get a lot more power in these games. I think they'll figure out the tech to make it more seamless to where there's not a break in the action, but there's just constant communication between New York and the officials where they can just talk back and forth to each other and get the right call.
Like one official's like a sideline coordinator, if you will.
Why don't they just open it up? Why don't they just open it up and stop saying, well, that's not reviewable or that's reviewable? If a call's wrong, correct it.
If we could see it at home, and we've been able to see it since the 70s when they only had 2 camera shots. Now they've got 78 cameras and 1 in the sky. I don't want to slow
underground
down. And Dave, underground. And they've got the chips in the football. But I'm just saying is that there are some things with this when it we want to see him fall on the side of protection when it comes to players and concussions and such. But if that's the case, if that's where you draw the line on player protection, then maybe that can be something that we can include because, we saw it, we see it all the time where a player, just if a helmet gets in the area code of the quarterback helmet, they're going to throw the flag, even if it's just a glancing blow, even if it's just a roll by. And, I know that you want to protect the quarterback, but then that should be reviewable.
No, I think everything should be reviewable. Everything.
Okay.
I don't think that the coaches should have to call reviews. I think New York should just every play, somebody's up there, and if they make a mistake on the field, you call it. Boom.
You know why, Rick, that makes sense? You know why, Dave, that makes sense? Or is Alex still on the phone? You guys know why
Alex is still on the phone.
That makes sense because of legalized gambling and the fact that every game they're selling sportsbook. Well, no, the teams are selling the information to the sportsbook. The sportsbook are making money on the bets. And as well as I do, we could say, oh, nothing better than a good gambling conspiracy. No, they better make sure they get these calls right because there's a lot of money.
I got one for you. I don't know if you realize it, but the difference between the over and the over-under or not came down to the whether or not Carolina scored on that last drive right at the end. And remember when they put that 1 second back on the clock?
Oh, my goodness.
That one last play? Yeah, that was a difference between the over-under. Whether the people Carolina who took the under were no doubt just dying.
Wait a minute. Did they kick a field goal on that last second?
No, they didn't. No, they didn't get it. But
they thought they might.
Right. Yes. They had to be dying on that last play, just going, no.
I'm telling you guys what.
What's that?
I mean, it's may not be like, I think it's just me thinking this, but I think this is the one game we needed. Like, even though we had all of most of our defensive players out, we had guys step up. But that helps them boost their confidence so that we have all our defensive players ready for the playoffs.
Yeah.
It's going to be a scary thing.
Alec, that's why I think this was such a huge game. That we faced adversity. We looked into the abyss, in essence. I mean, going into this game, I was like, oh, no, what is going to happen? I was nervous going into this game because there were so many injuries. And I walk out of this game feeling like, yeah, we all that. And I didn't feel like that before the game, but I do now. I mean, that was a big win.
And the way they did it too, it was
Well,
convincing.
That's what made it a big win.
Yeah.
I think.
Yes.
Yeah. That,
And
There was no
snap
doubt.
tablets.
They didn't
and
just
no
eke it out.
Smash tablets. Microsoft is relieved. Yeah. I don't know what happened over on the other sideline today.
We don't like to use the tablets. They're unreliable.
Yeah.
Boom.
But I don't know. I mean, I'm guys, I just sat here. I mean, as the game went on, and as I'm watching, thinking, please just don't. I'll be honest with you. When the game started, I was thinking, just don't suck. Please, just And I was nervous because of all those guys being out. And I'm like, who is Brady going to throw to? What the heck? What is going to happen? And Keyshawn Vaughn set the tone for the game.
Well, you know what did it, Rick, for me? They come out literally on the first play, 12 personnel jumbo package.
Yeah.
And then they go to third.
That's going to make you happy. We all know
It
that.
always. You know how I love the
Ray
jumbo
loves
package?
a jumbo package.
But then they go to 13 personnel on the very next play with like 17 tight ends. And
Yeah.
it just said to me is that they weren't just going to try to go, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to throw it down your throat. AB's going to be open. We're going to. They basically came out and said, we're going to strategically figure out a way to beat you. And then they methodically put that plan into play. And I loved every minute of it.
You know what I want to find out? Does anybody know? Can anybody tell me in chat who was the lead blocker on Keyshawn Vaughn's run? Who was the blocker downfield?
That's a good
I
call.
think it was OJ Howard.
Oh,
Wow.
OJ.
Wow,
Howard
because that's
sighting.
that's what he's known for.
I think he's
is
right.
blocking.
I think he's right on the left side there because Gronk's on
If
the right.
yeah, because I know that Arian said Grayson is such a great blocker. So
Yes.
if Cyril Grayson is a great blocker, if that was OJ Howard, whoever was the lead blocker downfield, anybody who says anything about OJ Howard from this point forward, because whoever that was did a beautiful job blocking.
White Scarver, keep your mouth shut. Just kidding, Dave.
I'm not sure what I missed.
No, I was gonna say, but they tried to get it to OJ today too. And there was once I thought OJ played a pretty good game. He didn't show up on his stat sheet with big numbers, but he was a big part of today's game plan. Of course, he has to be because he's working for a contract. He may end up in Tampa Bay in 2022 by default.
I'm kind of with Tim Witherspoon here when Tim says the player of the game should be Jordan Whitehead.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean,
Wait, well, I guys have one last question before I go.
Yeah.
I just have a lot of phone calls.
Yep.
But I know Ray was talking about this morning or why it was like last week. With Chris Godwin's injury, right? Does that affect like long-term contracts or does it affect the money of the contract?
I think it affects. Sure, it affects. Yeah, it affects.
I think it pushes him back a year, Alec. I think
that's exactly what I think. I think the Bucs may get him again for one more year.
Even if they're not going to give him a franchise, but even if you give that kid an almost franchise tag, but then again, Dave or Rick, we were talking about this, and Alec, I'm glad you asked this because we were talking about this on Cup of Ray today, that there's going to, just like you did with the Brashard Perryman, there's still going to be 5, 10, 15 other teams out there that are already thinking the Bucs are going to lowball Chris. We know the kind of stud this kid can be. We can lock him up to a long term, but maybe they make it incentive lating on the front side so they can see where that knee's at. But the Bucs, it doesn't make him a lock to be a Buccaneer. I think the Bucs had a chance of signing this kid to stay another year just because he loves it here.
Holy cow! Tim Witherspoon just said he thinks it was Ali Marpet all the way downfield.
Ali pulling out.
If that was Ali Marpet, that's amazing. Now I'm going to have to go back and.
Yeah, I'm going to have to as well.
Yeah, I'm going to have to try to find that.
Well, I'm pretty sure it was OJ's side.
All right. Well, thanks, Alec. Thanks for calling.
Take care,
Thanks
Alec.
for the call, Alec. Have a good one.
Brother
The Bucs. Awesome. All right. Well, while you guys are doing that, I'm going to look up and see if I can figure out who that lead block was.
I'm amazed. We've got a call from Chicago and one from Virginia.
Yeah.
That's the Bucs report. We go from Australia to the Philippines to Japan to Virginia to California. Dave, we're locking this down. We're worldwide.
Yeah.
International travelers we are.
I have no points whatsoever. I couldn't get to Tampa if I had to, and I'm in St. Pete. The original, what was it? Alfred Whitted, who the airport in St. Pete's named after. Alfred Whitted had the world's first commercial flight. It took off from Tampa, glided across the bay, and landed right here in Demon. I'm sorry, it was Demon's Landing. It's named after Demon. He was a Russian businessman and had the first world charter flight because he was paid to fly from Tampa across the bay to St. Pete on probably a glider at that point.
Okay, who is number 15 for the Bucs?
That would be Grayson.
Cyril Grayson had the lead block downfield.
Wow. Rick, you said that's what Arian said.
Yeah, it was Cyril Grayson. Whoop.
Wow.
So, props to Cyril Grayson running down the field.
These guys were inspired today. That's why I loved that. And that's what we needed to see. I wanted because you get the temperature of the locker room, even if it's a practice squad player who's called up or a third stringer filling in. But you saw these kids come in today. And even though, like you said, Dave, you pointed out that Gronk was quiet on the stat sheet, probably because Carolina decided to take him out. But the fact that you see the enthusiasm from a Keyshawn Vaughn, you see the enthusiasm from a Cyril Grayson, that tells me that the Bucs are in good stead going towards those playoffs.
Yeah, honestly, Ray, I think they used Gronk as a blocker more today. I think I think that's why you have a 55-yard run. I think that's why you had, primarily a running game, is I think they held him in and said, we're going to protect Brady. We think we can just, come straight at you and win the game. And I think that's what happened. And I would expect more of the same next week.
Just the Jets, Jets.
JOKE, Jets. They are.
Good.
Year after year, it's just they're horrible.
Wasn't Robert Saleh in the COVID protocol this week too?
Yep.
I mean, that's just, that's another thing. Funny, Rick, you talked about the adversity we faced in 2020, and it was funny because we faced a very minimal amount of adversity in 2020, but that was why the entire NFL and the world was facing the adversity that is COVID. Still, hopefully, the Bucs can fly back tonight, keeping it safe. Go home, be with your families. Don't get crazy. Just keep it safe. I'm sure Tom's going to be texting every one of them tonight on his cell phone, letting them know, let's just keep this thing square because we've got a good shot. We look good today, and we got to continue this thing because we want to go for that second consecutive Lombardi Trophy.
Yeah, absolutely. But do we need to be scared that these Jets are coming off over there? They're on a one-game win streak.
Against the Jags, I'm terrified.
That's good.
They're on a tear. The Jets
break up the Jets.
You guys make a joke, but the Bucs' history against rookie quarterbacks.
Only in their first game when you don't know what the heck you're facing.
That's true.
Brady's record against rookie quarterbacks. He hasn't lost since he was 4.
And Tom Brady now, Mr. December, now he's 68-17 all time in the month of December. And of course, he finally got that monkey off his back that Cam Newton was one of the 4 quarterbacks with 2 or more games that were undefeated against Tom Brady. Not anymore. And of course, the Bucs.
How can that be?
Well, because Cam had won 2 in a row when he played.
Oh, that's right. They didn't face him in the Super Bowl. That was Denver.
That's right. And also the Buccaneers had went into 2 games last year against the Carolina Panthers. This was their 3rd win in a row. It's the first time since they realigned into the NFC South in 2002 that they've won 3 straight against Carolina. Yeah. So that felt pretty good too.
Boy, how done is Cam Newton? Ooh. Let's all just be honest. Let's all take away the let's take off the politically correct hat for a moment, and where we sit there and try and talk about the other players or the other guys, and we try to temper what we say. No, he sucked. I mean, he was bad.
I was shocked when I saw he's only 32 years old. I mean, he went from MVP and a Super Bowl starting quarterback, and he fell off in a hurry. And if you look back at how his career, I mean, he hit the cliff and he just crashed and burned. For lack of a better
physically, he still looks like a beast when you see him off the field. As far as he's, I remember
seeing a montage about all the hits he took. It took a toll. And that's why I go back. Rick and I have had the discussions about the Cardinals and their chances and Kyler Murray. And I said, I have a bias, and I think there's fact-based bias. 6 foot or less quarterbacks that like to run don't do well in the playoffs.
Cam Newton is a big dude.
6'5".
He's 6'5".
He took a lot of hits. He's getting hits by 300-pound guys.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's what I said about Lamar Jackson too. Here's the problem. Devin White. I mean, at some point, as good as you are getting out of bounds or avoiding getting hit, at some point, Devin White's going to catch up. One time, one play, and everything changes.
Yeah. I mean, Cam, going back to his college career, I like to gauge players on how much I like to watch them. And I like to watch this kid at Auburn, right? It was Auburn, I believe it was. I'm testing you guys, but all the way coming into the league, and he's always, but he's been single-handedly, and of course earlier today on the pregame show, I'm going to give a little shout out to Chris King from Winners and Winers because he pointed out that it actually goes back to Steve Young, or actually I think it was the cat from Sporting News that joined us this morning. But Steve Young started getting those calls because Steve Young was so good at leaving the pocket and rushing, but. You take a look at a beating that Justin Fields has taken this year where he's getting smacked in the pocket on the backside, but because he's a running threat, they let it go. Cam Newton, how many times, guys, Bucs fans, girls and guys out there, did we see the Buccaneers just lay a beating on Cam Newton? Mm-hmm. And, even as Bucs fans, we were like, oh, that was a personal foul. That he kept the flags in the pocket because this cat will pull the ball down and rush. But, he can also throw a pretty pass, but I would definitely say Cam is on the other side for sure.
I don't see him. I never saw him as being like, oh no, I'm worried about him throwing the ball. He was better than Vic when Vic was with the Falcons.
Yes.
I never worried about Vic throwing the ball against him.
Yeah, he was powerful in that also. I think of Earl Campbell. When I saw him a few years ago, he could barely walk. He was the kind. There's two different types of running back. You have Emmitt Smith, who was shifty and you never could get a good hit on him. And then you had Earl Campbell, who would run you over. But that running you over took a toll. And back in the days when you had LaDainian Tomlinson and you had running backs who actually ran the ball on a regular basis, I remember seeing a study. It's like you hit 10,000 carries and you fell off a cliff. I remember Sean Alexander went from Madden cover and MVP, and he was out of the league 2 years later. It takes a toll. It's a brutal game, and there's only so much the human body can take, or the body blows just add up.
While we're talking about Cam Newton, don't forget the reason why, and we were talking about this earlier today, the reason why Dave Gettleman's even the GM in New York with the Giants was because back in 2015, he re-signs Cam Newton to a new contract, and he undersold him. I don't want to say he undersold him like he robbed him, but he got him at a discount because he gave it to him 2 years early. And that season, Cam Newton goes out and wins the NFL MVP as he leads the Panthers to the Super Bowl. Of course, they inevitably lost. But I don't know where I was going with this, guys. I have no idea.
Well, you don't want to get to, you don't want to jump in there and get hurt.
There you go. Little factoid. Let me have another sip of my beer. We're good. Cheers.
Yeah, I think we just figured out what the answer was there, right? So, but guys, honestly, when I think the MVP for the Buccaneers this season is the schedule maker.
Oh, yes.
How grateful are we that we close out with the Panthers, the Jets, and the Panthers? Was somebody doing us favors? Is that just the luck of the draw? How did that work out? I know that they tried to stack in every division for every team. They try to stack your division games right at the end for the most.
But we did have 8 home games, but we have 9 away games.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, guys, and at the end though, we did have to play the Saints, we did have to play the Falcons, we did have to play the Panthers twice. It just worked out the way that it worked out.
But I'll tell you what, Rick and Dave, can you imagine if the Bucs were 15-1? And it was week 18. Of course, that would be week 17, the last game. Bucs are 15-1, but we lay an egg like we did against the Saints last week. And now we're going into the playoffs next week because we don't get the bye week because the Packers somehow get that over. But talk about that schedule, the schedule being a friend of the Bucs. I couldn't agree more, Rick. That's a fantastic point because now we got a couple of games to let these backups get a little time, maybe get the starters a little rest, and we got confidence.
Guys, I don't want Evans coming back. until let him play a little bit in the last game and that's it. But I mean, I know they're probably
even
going to
know
try
if
and
you
get
wanna
him to
do
1,000
that.
yards. I get it.
He's got those chronic hamstrings. Just give him some rest.
Yeah,
We can
but they're gonna
obviously
try and get
beat
him
the
that
Panthers
1,000
without
yards.
him.
I think they're going to try and get him 1,000 yards.
Get him that
By
100
the
yards.
way,
Yeah.
He's at
does
899, I
today-
believe.
What's that?
He's at 899. I think the
Yeah.
question was asked
Does
earlier.
today make you feel any different? Guys in chat, answer this question. You guys on screen, answer this question. Does today make you feel any different about the urgency to re-sign Chris Godwin?
Wow. Dave, you go first. All right. Let me put it this way.
Dave was like, son of a.
I thought we were celebrating. Now you're asking like hard, mentally challenging questions. Sunday after Christmas. Come on.
Bucs just won. That's a great question, Rick, because I always felt like we were kind of going to keep Chris around until, we decided what was going on with Mike. And Mike's an institution, so there's no Mike Evans that go nowhere. But, no, again, it's a small sample size. Cyril Grayson looked great. We know Tyler Johnson's had his moments. We know that Rashard Perriman has done what he's done. I'm not saying that wide receiver is a position of need so much, but I think when you're talking about a player with the grit and the strength and just the personality, I mean, there's no reason why Chris Godwin, him and his wife have that great foundation for it's called Second Chance, or if you will, that's not the actual name, but with all the animals, cats and dogs, they need a second chance. They're in the ASPCAs and such, and they really care about that. But I mean, you're talking about a cat that not only could be one of the best receivers in the National Football League, but maybe up for Walter Payton Man of the Year. So, but it's a hard question, Rick. I mean, does it make it any less? I think it's a push for me because I still love this kid.
I love the kid, but I have to tell you today, if you asked me how I felt 7 days ago and you asked me how I feel today, if I was being honest, I got a little more relief feeling we'll be all right. And a week ago, I wouldn't have been so sure about that.
Our wide receiver depth stepped up and played today, but I still think it's an urgent need to bring Chris Godwin, your best offensive player, back.
Well, Rick, let me pose it this way. If AB's not back next year, because AB came in today and owned that thing, but if
you
AB's
took it
not
where I was going, Ray.
I knew you were going. Right? Because now you're like, whoa, hold on a minute. That's not a
So
open and shut case.
If Godwin comes back, what do you do with AB?
Yeah.
Do you let him go? I mean, one of them's going to go probably, and I think you can look at it now, and instead of being worried about it, we can look at it and say we're going to be all right. We're going to be okay. Now I understand Mike Evans has taken so many. He's restructured. I think he's getting paid until 2073. And
It's better than a Bobby Bonilla deal.
Yeah, next year he's actually paying the Buccaneers to play. It's I mean,
he gets paid what, 3,000 or something? I don't know.
$1 million
Heirs get paid. I don't know.
Yeah. Mike Evans is like, I don't know. I'm signing for the veteran minimum. No, I signed for $1.73 plus incentives. So I mean,
Ryan Jensen, another free agent next season. I know I'm just throwing these in here ad libbing them, but you're talking about. I mean, just start to look at some of these. Jordan Whitehead, Ryan Jensen, and Ndamukong Suh. Chris Godwin, Fournette, and AB. I think, Dave, you're the one that said at the top of the show when I brought it up, and I didn't mean to get negative, but I'm like, yeah, Jason Light's going to have his job. But, I mean, the Cat's been doing it since 2014. In Light, we trust. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's going to be tough. And you're going to have to start – the reality is you're going to have to start looking at careers and age and that type of thing.
Yeah.
And start moving your money around.
Remember what the
get your
Patriots
spreadsheets
did for
out
years.
and you're going to have to take a good hard look at a lot of different players.
Well,
Remember
let's take
what the Patriots did for years. They cut people with a year or two left in the tank.
Well, you're talking about that Chris Godwin. I mean, if for some reason after the Bucs win their third Lombardi, second consecutive here in 56 and SoFi, or not if but when, if Antonio Brown's going to stick around again for another team-friendly deal because the proximity to Miami's close and he likes it here in Tampa Bay. then I think that makes your Chris Godwin question a lot easier to answer, and you're not going to let that cat get out of here because you're worried about his ACL. I think that kid's going to come back from that fine. But, I mean, at the end of the day, it is a business, and there is a salary cap, and you've got to make the best decisions you can.
Well,
I
other
am
teams are going to
more-
have a say too as to how bad they want him and what money they're going to throw at him as
Coaching
well.
is going to. I think we're going to lose one of our coordinators.
Maybe
At
two.
least one of our coordinators.
Leftwich to Jacksonville.
I
Yeah.
said that. I called that because they drafted him. They drafted him out of Marshall in
Yeah.
the first round back in 2011. I think
Dave started. Yeah, Dave. I think it was. Gosh, I don't remember how many weeks ago Dave started saying, "Hey,
It was like a week or two after the incident in Columbus with Urban.
yeah, the lap dance."
the all hands team.
Yeah, oh man! But when that happened, Dave was like, "So, who's going to be our offensive coordinator next?" Because I think Leftwich is going to Jacksonville.
The irony is though, and I see Byron Leftwich after 7 years in this Bruce Arians system and 2 years with Tom Brady. Why wouldn't you want him with a Trevor Lawrence and match him up for an offense? And you know this cat. But also the irony is that of the two coordinators, I think Todd Bowles is definitely going to be the hotter commodity. He's already done it. He had a bad management system there in New York with the Jets, but Todd Bowles continues to year in and year out, week in and week out, put on just one of the best defenses in the National Football League. And I mean, if I'm a team, if I'm an owner trying to make a decision, I don't care if I'm in Omaha, Nebraska, or Omaha, wherever. I'm looking at Todd Bowles and I'm thinking this cat's already been there. And you know about coaches in the second time around. Guys like Todd Bowles, they end up having a lot of success.
Yeah, that is terrifying to me. That really
You could lose
is.
both.
I really
You
don't
could
want to
lose both of them.
And Bruce Arians might walk
no.
away because him and Christine go to Georgia to the Forever House. And now what are we looking at?
Well, if one of the if Arians leaves, one of those two coordinators are staying.
Yeah, I think
So
it's
I'm not
free.
worried about that. Yeah. I'm not worried about that. I just don't want both. I don't want to lose both of them. I figure we're going to lose one of them. Honestly, I'd rather lose Leftwich because Brady is so much a part of the offense and so is Arians.
He's
that
his
I
own
think we can
coordinator.
afford losing Leftwich more than we can afford losing Bowles. I would rather just go to Todd Bowles and say, "You're the next head coach." You know,
Yes.
I'll be here no more than 2 more years, and then you take over. You know, do whatever you got to do. Keep Bowles around, please.
Here's the good news: is the NFC South continues to be a division in flux. I mean, the Saints really haven't found Drew Brees' successor unless it is Jameis Winston. The Panthers and Sam Darnold and Cam Newton don't know what's going on there. You got Matt Ryan. He's 102 years old there in Atlanta. So I mean, you know, we're gonna enjoy this. I think Bruce Arians is here a couple of more. I think Bruce Arians and Tom Brady are here at least 2 more, if not more. Now, you brought me around that, Rick. I used to think that this might be the season Tom exit, but you know, I think he sticks around. Yeah. But fortunately, we're not talking about a division that's like totally encased and has their future. We're talking about a division that's very much in flux.
Yeah,
I think Brady plays one more year and he's done.
I
think he does.
I think if they win the Super Bowl this year, they win the Super Bowl next year, or even just if they win it this, I think either way, Brady, I don't think is going anywhere. He loves the game. I think it has nothing to do with whether they win or not. I think he's going to play till he doesn't want to anymore, and I don't see that happening anytime soon.
He's got teenagers. I think he wants to spend time with them.
Yeah,
that's what I said, Dave. And you know, Rick and I had this debate, and he's got a son playing football there in New York, of course, with Bridget Moynihan. They've got their son, and I think that there's things that he wants to do in his life, but then every time I hear Tom get interviewed, I hear him say that I still hear the passion in his voice. I still see him slamming smart tablets on the sidelines because he's so frustrated. But I also know there comes a point when, you know, the kids and the wife and all the little, you know, everything starts to get loud enough that you go, hey, maybe, because, you know, Lord knows with the man in the arena and his production companies, he's lining himself up for his post-football career. Yeah. He's going to still be pretty successful.
I brought this up before, Ray, and is there any validity to this at all? Because I wonder this, and I don't know because I'm not a football player, but I know basically July through, for most people, December. You know, there's a couple more, there's another month for the lucky ones. But basically, 5 months out of the year, you're playing football.
Right.
The other 7 months out of the year, you're at home more than most parents. You're with your kids more than most parents because they're not at work.
Right.
Does that play into it? I mean, and I don't know. I don't know.
I think I'm glad you asked that, Rick, because I've been a little vocal on this, and I think that stands to say, okay, we're going to do the month of July in Hawaii, or we're going to go like Tom and Giselle and the kids did after they won the Super Bowl here this last March or February. They went and did a tour of the Middle East, and they went over, and so I think that there's that lifestyle. But I think that when it's the middle of September, and your 14-year-old son has an important home varsity game and he's starting for the first time, I think that missing that one varsity game probably outweighs the whole 2 weeks in the Middle East or the week down in Africa. So I'm not saying that Tom's gotten to that point yet, but now that he's got kids getting of the age where they're playing these type of things, it's you start to balance it, and I think you start to go, well, there's just some things you can't make up.
Yeah, there's just a part of me that looks at Tom Brady's kid and thinks, okay, if your dad's Tom Brady, it's really hard to feel like
you're good. No, you're
what
good.
What a shame.
Yeah. Oh, world's tiniest violin. No, right. I get it. But I mean, I'm just thinking I coach my son's soccer teams and stuff like that. But there are nights when my son will be going to soccer practice and I'm stuck at UPS because I have to work. I don't have a way to get off of that. And I'm thinking to myself, I'd almost give up my whole weekend to be able to be there for this one game. And so from that standpoint, I think, because Tom's about the spirit, Tom's about spiritual, and Tom's about the soul, and him and Giselle. And so I think that, I don't think he's there yet, but I think eventually it gets to the point where you don't think about the things you can be there for, but what hurts more or what you think more about are the things that you can't be there for. And that ends up eventually that outweighs.
And you can't go back. You can't go recreate those
kid,
moments.
And you got the cutest girl in school, right? The hottest girl in school. Yeah. Tom Brady's my dad.
I tell people that anyway. And they're like, but they're like, Ray, you're 52 years old. I'm like, yeah, but he had me out of marriage. Yeah. The math doesn't work, but I'm still gonna try. Yeah. Hey guys, thanks for Dave and Rick. Thanks for having me. I just want to do a special shout out again to the staff and crew here at the Irish 31 here at the Seminole City Center. They've been taking care of me today. They got me locked down with the Wings, and they always give me a home here to go from. We had Buccaneer fans going crazy here today, but it's calmed down a little bit. But I can't thank you guys enough for letting me come on here on a post-game event a little.
Oh, thanks for doing double duty, the pregame and postgame.
Yeah,
you did it all.
Put some time in today.
Brother, when I'm riding shotgun with you two, it's always a pleasure. I really appreciate you guys.
Yeah, likewise. Much appreciated. Love it when you're here.
Brothers, I'll see you both soon.
All right. Have a good one. Take care, Ray. All
right. That was Cup of Ray Kennedy, Best of the Bay. So, Dave, I got questions.
Okay.
I got NFL questions.
All right.
I do. I got NFL questions. What the heck with the Bills and the Patriots? Right when the Bills start looking bad and the Patriots are looking great. Patriots, dropped 2 in a row now, I think?
I saw that game coming. I thought the Bills were going to beat the Patriots. I thought the people were getting ahead of themselves on what yes, they have a very good defense, but they still have a rookie quarterback. And I thought this Super Bowl talk, people got ahead of themselves. And the Bills are a quality football team.
I said it before the season started. I was way ahead of myself.
I'm just...
I know. No, I hear you.
You want answers? You got questions? Here you go. And the Bills are a quality football team, and I think they were playing below, for whatever reason, they were playing below their talent level, and I think they're correcting that. They're gonna have a strong finish to the season, and I don't think people want to pay them in the playoffs.
It absolutely is irrelevant. Whatever I pick with the Bengals or Ravens or Chargers, I will get the game wrong.
I've got teams like that. I've just seen for whatever reason, I've seen a number of Ravens games more than usual, and they really are decimated. Yes, the Bucs have been hit hard, especially on defense, but the Ravens, like I said, 6 guys on IR, 9 that are out. I mean, you can get by with a couple of games and some motivation and a little bit of surprise, but they're just so beaten down.
But Dave, when you say the Bucs got hit hard, especially on defense, And that's in a game without Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, or Leonard Fournette.
Well, yes. And for the first half of the season, it was the defense that was all dinged up. And now it's been a deluge of basically in practically 2 weeks, you've got your top 3 offensive performers that are out.
And both of your safeties and Levante David and JPP.
I understand that. I'm just saying that the Ravens took it to a new level.
Yeah.
And they've been keeping themselves in games. That's Harbaugh's credit, but you can't sustain that in the NFL when you've got that much talent not able to show up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
if
it's
James
more the
Canada is out there. James, please let us know in chat if you are out there at all. Tim Witherspoon said, sounded like a good question to ask James Canada. Yeah, that would be I'd be happy to do that. So, I don't know. Tim Witherspoon also says no urgency. Godwin wants to be here. It'll all work out. Well, I'm sure he also wants to get paid. He's probably realizing right now, I imagine a lot of guys who took minimums or took low salaries right now are looking at it and going, holy crap, I'm injured. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Dave and I had this conversation about guys missing bowl games, and I mean, guys skipping bowl games, and this is exactly why. You look at Chris Godwin, he's a great example of he's going to lose millions of dollars, because of that game. And it's a big risk if you're coming out of college and haven't made anything. That's a big risk to be taken, to say, well, they gave me a scholarship, which has nothing to do with your life from this point forward. And you have nothing to do with them. They have nothing to do with you. They got their money's worth. You got yours. Yeah, I don't know. It's I look at now as I look forward for Chris Godwin, he's losing millions of dollars. Leonard Fournette, that if that dude doesn't come back strong, how's that going to hurt him next year? People are going to be like, how is he? How healthy is he? I don't know. I mean,
it's not like they have a postseason camp to show off that, look, I'm much better. It doesn't work that way. I mean, unless you're in football action, it doesn't really count. I mean,
your agent will tell everybody you're fine, but of course your agent is going to say that. But, bottom line with today, and the exciting part of all of it, Dave, is how's it feel to be a champ, Dave?
It feels great. I mean, it's not winning a Super Bowl, but when you start putting it in perspective and think how long it's been, 15 years of somebody not the Tampa Bay Buccaneers winning their division, it's like, this is great. I mean, when you start to think it, I mean, I was starting to think worst case, imagine that being a Buck fan, that, oh my gosh, they got to get one game right. Just get that one. Cause I don't want it to go thinking that the offense was going to be inept like it
lose
was.
A game. Somebody else has to lose for us to get in. That's what I was figuring. We were going to back in.
Well, I mean, which we would have clinched a playoff with the Vikings loss. We clinched a playoff spot irrespective of what we did.
Okay.
So we were probably going to be in it. But now we've clinched the division with the one win. And I guess that's the post-traumatic Buck syndrome rearing its ugly head. I'm starting to go, we got to get the one. Let's just get that one because I don't want to go down to the last week.
Well, no, that's the same way. Okay, Shaq Barrett suffered an MCL sprain and will undergo further testing on Monday.
At least it's a sprain, but it depends on what grade.
Yeah, we sure hope it's not a tear or whatever. And I think it was from somebody stepping on his foot. But anyway, and our own player, I believe, stepping on his foot. I think it was friendly fire, but so yeah, we're champs. It's never underestimate the heart of a champion, and the Bucs, make no mistake, are a champion. They won the Super Bowl last year. They came back. Never underestimate the heart of a champ. They came back today and they showed what they're all about. They showed they have the mettle to face the adversity that they Dave, you were talking about in a previous game they got punched in the mouth and didn't know how to respond. They looked surprised. Well, they came out today after really being punched in the mouth last week, and this was not the same team. This was a team that came out focused and
they
ready.
had a chip on their shoulder and a point
Yeah.
to prove, and they did well.
Yeah. So, and that's good news, guys, because some teams, when you're in that position, you don't have that next gear. You don't have the ability to prove. You might want to prove, you might have a chip on your shoulder, but you're not good enough to prove it. These were backups and backups to backups and backups and backups. I mean, you had guys that, like I said, last week were at Wawa, working, this cleaning the soda machine. I mean, it was that what you had today is a Buccaneers team that you can be proud of, that you can look at and say, despite everything that happened, we are champs. Hey, New Orleans, I want to today, and I feel this way about Keyshawn Vaughn. That was a 55-yard middle finger to people like me after last week who lost faith in the guy.
Oh, count me in too, and I deserve it. I mean, but in all fairness, the way he played was deserving of being buried, because and if you come back and you play well, we'll talk about it. And he played well. It was a great run. Yeah, he did not look like the player that was lost and looked incompetent, quite frankly, in the Saints game. So
and that is how he looked. You are right. He looked lost and incompetent in the Saints game, but then so did a lot of people. And that's got to get corrected. We really need to learn how to play the Saints. But anyway, it's good to be a Bucs fan today. Once again, it's good to be a Bucs fan.
Clinched the playoffs, clinched the division, clinched home field, at least in the first round.
What's our record, Dave?
Our record?
Yeah.
Well, we are now 11-4.
It means 19 of our last 23 games we've won. Think
pretty
about
good
that
run.
As a Bucs fan. And
that's
Dave,
okay.
What happens if we win next week?
That's okay. We are 40%, over 40% threshold for the history of the franchise as far as winning percentage goes.
Next week is a big game, guys. We will reach the 40% plateau history of the Buccaneers, winning 40% of the games if they win next week. We're no longer the losingest franchise in North America, and we will actually reach the 40% plateau if we win a 12th game next week. So it's good right now to be a Bucs fan. It really is. So, yeah.
I mean, what more do you want? You're the reigning. We've been the reigning Super Bowl champs before, but we didn't make any runs after that.
No.
And here we are. Still, I mean, let's face it. We had 7 starters out today.
Yeah.
7. And we manhandled the Panthers. Granted, the Panthers, after a 3-0 start, have fallen apart, but we manhandled them. And we showed them that we're the division champs, and there's no doubt. And we played on both sides of the ball. So what more do you want? So besides Chris Godwin to heal fast.
Yeah.
So
I was gonna say, I can answer that question.
Besides, which we would, if that could happen, that would be sheer wonder.
Yeah.
But they're where they need to be. They've got 2 games that, and that last game may not matter. I think if Bruce Arians is going to be true to his word, which usually in press conferences he rarely is, if there's no seeding to play for, we might rest our starters. Well, yeah, we'll see. That might be the last week, but I think you still have something to play for.
No, he said that last week. Well, certainly what seed position we're going to end up in, is still on the line. So we'll see how it works out. We'll see how this whole thing plays out. So, by the way, Tim Witherspoon, if we're no longer the losingest, who takes over that spot? The losingest franchise in North American sports history is the Minnesota Timberwolves. So that's who took over for the Bucs. I don't know who has the worst record as an NFL. I think it's still us. I'm guessing it's still us, but we will see. We will see. Marty McKnight says the weather doesn't look so bad in New York next week. It's been weird. It's been oddly warm. we were almost at 70 degrees in Charlotte. I mean, in Charlotte today, boy, you couldn't have asked for better weather. You really could not have asked for better weather. Today was, if anything, maybe slightly warmer than they would have wanted it here in Charlotte. So, it is what it is.
Well, prior to the Cowboys game against Washington, we are now the number 3 seed.
We are.
But
who lost?
Well, Cowboys are 10-4. We're 11-4.
They haven't played
They
yet.
haven't played Washington yet.
Okay.
If they win, they bump back up.
Okay.
But so we're big Washington football team fans.
Okay.
And whoever's playing the Rams and Packer fans.
When is that game?
Let's
see here. It's 8:20 tonight.
It's a Sunday night game.
Is Washington and the Cowboys. So we are going to be big Washington fans tonight, guys.
Yep. Go
All
FT.
Right. Yep. WFT. WTF.
Do we even want to go down? I have the question in my how hard is it to come up with a logo and a nickname for your football team?
Well, I think
we're
it's
2
brilliant.
years into this.
Look, I think it's brilliant. And you, of all people, I know how your brain works, should appreciate this. They managed to sell all of these jerseys and all of these shirts and all of this merchandise for 2 or 3 years. And now they get to come up with the team name and do it all over again and sell all the new ones again starting next year. To me, it was brilliant.
What is that saying? A fool and his money are soon parted.
There are a lot of foolish fans in Washington, apparently, but I don't know. We just bought all new jerseys here in Tampa. So, and next year the Bucs get to go back and wear the creamsicles. How beautiful is it to know that the greatest player of all time, is going to come running out in creamsicles. If you've been around for long, to know about that, that's a beautiful thing. Christopher Cole says he saw Brian Pearson on another platform and he congratulated us. Thank you, Christopher. I appreciate that. How you doing, my friend? I am beyond proud of this team. John O'Barnes, I'm sure, is silent at this point. He's probably not going to have much to say.
He's in his studio creating.
Yeah, he's in the studio making a. We'll see what happens tomorrow, Jono. You got to play another Florida team tomorrow, and I get the feeling it's going to go a little differently this week than last week.
Hey, you're not a big believer in Ian Book?
I'm not a big believer in Ian Book.
They got Blake Bortles now as a backup.
Doesn't Ian Book sound like a fake name? Like it's like Ian Book is it's somebody from a John Grisham novel. It's not a real, I don't know. Anyway,
he's a double agent that didn't quite make it kind of thing,
Yeah, exactly. He's 006.
He didn't pass.
Yeah. But anyway, guys, you know what, Dave? Why don't we do this? Why don't we call it a day? There's going to be, I think, more on Bucs Report tonight. I think you're going to have live from the cheap seats. I think will be here tonight. And Dave, this was great. Thank you for holding down the fort. I hesitated to come in because you and Ray were doing such a good job, and then I started getting nervous about my job, so I thought I'd better hurry up and get in.
Oh, much appreciation for Ray to step up. He did the pregame and the postgame show. So
and a cup of Ray today.
And a cup of,
he did all of it today.
He did it all. So he's our shortstop and all-star. So there you go.
Exactly. Which we didn't even talk about the Pro Bowl, which we'll get into that on Tuesday night. So Tuesday night, guys, Dave and I will be back with Buck AF on Tuesday at 8:30.
They still have the Pro Bowl? Is that still a thing?
Not hopefully not for us because we'll be busy playing the next week. So we'll see you guys. Chris Williams says in chat, wait till we get healthy. Chris, you are absolutely correct. Wait till we get healthy. I agree. What is that picture? Okay, it's just a horse, I think. Or is that a dog? I can't tell. I'm not sure what I'm looking at, Chris, but
maybe it's related to health or something. I don't know.
I'm not sure what I'm looking at. Is that I don't know. Anyway, Guys, thanks for tuning in. It's good to be a Bucs fan. Dave, any final stuff you want to say?
We're where we need to be. You've got 2 games left. They're a subpar competition, and we have that 4th seed. All we can do is go up, and we'll see how. And part of it's not in our control anymore. But what is in our control is how we are prepared for the playoffs. We're going to get healthy, and we're going to make another run. And yes, it hurts not having Chris Godwin, but we're the Bucs. And like you said, don't ever underestimate the heart of a champion. This is a championship team, and we'll see if they can bring another one home.
Okay, excellent. I agree with you completely. Everything you just said. What I would add, just briefly, is guys, when we're at a point where you start getting frustrated or you start getting down, if we have a bad game, shake it off, brush it off. Look what this team did. And this is how we're 19-4 over our last 23 games. So if things, if you have a bad game, it's okay. You're going to be all right. Every team has a bad game every now and again. So that's what happened in New Orleans, but that seems like ancient history. And right now, the only thing that matters is we are NFC South champions. Go